The FNL Network Talk Show.
Thank you guys for joining. We have 3 topics that we're going to discuss today. Hopefully they will be light and entertaining and hopefully very interesting and authentic for you. Thank you so much. How are you guys doing?
Good, really good. I mean, we've got beautiful weather. It's amazing.
It's hot over here, you guys. I'm sweating. It's like the hottest day in Canada today.
It's like high 90s in Burbank. It's like 96 or something.
I can't complain.
I'm not too far from Burbank over in Studio City, so I'm like feeling the heat, but I'm like curious, like I didn't realize it gets that hot in Canada.
Nice. Okay, so let's jump right in since everybody's hot and ready for a swimming pool somewhere. So my first question would be, what is the biggest achievement in your life so far? What obstacle you had to overcome to get there, and why is that the biggest achievement that you have? Anybody wants to go first?
Sure, I will. Mine is a TV show that I did in the UK called My Kind of World. It appeared on a Sky Channel, Trouble TV, which was Sky Channel 166. And it was a show that I devised. I created it. I did all the pre-production, costumes, propped it, you name it. It was like a one-woman pre-production. And to film the pilot, I knew nobody. Like, I was just a model, you know what I mean? But I wanted to open my own doors and break into TV and stuff like that. So I lived with a XXX centerfold hustler girl. And she knew a guy who obviously produced XXX movies. So I approached him and I'm like, hey, Jason, can you help me with this pilot? And my Kind of World was filmed in underwear on the streets of London. Anyway, Jason, he helped me put together like a 2-minute pilot. And from there, we kind of shopped it around and we picked up a production company. We had a filming schedule and it was doing like really stupid skits. For example, I had like a big blow up dolphin and snorkels and masks and flippers. And I was just like walking down the big streets of London. I had like tennis rackets attached to my feet and pulling a sleigh, filming this midwinter. So it was like 0 degrees, like freezing my ass off, but it was all in underwear. Did get stopped by the police because we did film guerrilla style. And we just did stupid stunts. It was kind of based on a show called Trigger Happy TV, but it was like the sexed up after hours, after the pub version. And then after filming, I co-edited. So I watched all the footage, I logged everything, and I was involved in editing every single episode. There were 6 episodes. And then it came out on a Sky Channel. And for me, that was my proudest moment because literally I knew nobody. I had to do all the work myself. I obviously was the star of the show. And it was just, I felt such a good sense of achievement. And it was like lovely seeing it live on TV with my granddad, who was like really old at the time. My mum is a glass half empty person. She was like, well, Kat, I would have done this better. And I was like, Mum, we had minus budget. You know what I mean? So I had to like beg, borrow, steal all the props and everything like that. And I made a lot myself and painted like, you know, the little kids' cars that you pedal along. I just had a blast. I had such a good time doing it. It is, to this day, my favorite job I've ever done. And, you know, just like running down Regent Street with super soaker guns and stuff like that. I mean, it was brilliant, so much fun. And to me, that's my biggest achievement because it was, I knew nobody, managed to get a pilot, managed to get a production company involved. And I saw it from an idea in my head through to the very end, you know. So to me, that was huge in my life. It was really huge because I proved to myself that I could do anything that I set my mind to. So yeah, that's my biggest achievement.
I have a similar story to you, Kat. Actually, mine was this year, and I actually got to go cover Coachella for my job. So I work in radio, and then this is like a pop culture brand that we own. And I literally came up with the idea, similar to you, start to finish, just reach out to the editor and said, "Do you think I could go to Coachella?" And she said, "We don't really have anyone cover festivals, but like, let's give it a shot." And I went with one story in mind. We were going to go cover the weirdest things that happen. And little by little, like I started getting reached out by these publicists and added to these lists. And I ended up getting to coordinate an interview with Måneskin. They're the Italian band who does the cover of Beggin' that went viral on TikTok. They have some other really great music out now. And just coordinating that, doing that all myself is definitely my biggest achievement. And that also is some of the obstacles I had to deal with, right? Because I'm the only person going from my company. I really am the only person in California from my company. So I kind of had to trust myself and overcome some confidence issues and really just be okay knowing that I can make my own decisions and I can do good work. And, you know, the interview was a success. I had an amazing time at Coachella, and I'm just always going to be really fond of that memory.
That's absolutely amazing that you did that. It's like, it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage. I mean, I trained in broadcasting, so I trained to be a radio host, and it's not an easy job, you know, entertaining people with your voice. It is, I mean, I love it because I think you have to be more creative than if you're, say, a TV host. And I just think, well done. Hats off to you, my friend. Hats off to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And you did an amazing job with your story as well. I was like, I want to watch that now.
Yeah. It's so exciting. I didn't even know you guys did all these things. It's like women empowerment in some way. How about you, Jill?
Hi, guys. So I don't know if many of you know me on the show or watching, but I'm one of those people that was adopted when they were young and finding my family, you guys. I'm out of Canada, Calgary, Alberta. It's really cold here normally, but today it's really hot and I'm sweaty. But thinking of what you guys are saying, like the career things that you've gone through. Oh, I could tell you the same thing with running a magazine and all the obstacles of just doing it and then being respected as a woman doing that. And you know how Rocco, he's as well a host, and what he's put together with all of this, like he knows exactly what we're talking about too. So I love that. But I'll just share that the inner thing that I have is always trying to find who I am and be accepted and be the quirky me that I am. But when I found my family like 2 years ago, I realized like, okay, this is why I am the way I am. I'm very similar to my Romanian family in Europe. And trying to make a difference for them. You know, I'm still on that journey of doing what I've done, the biggest thing that's happened to me or what I've achieved, but finding them and my birth parents and, you know, finding out who I am and why I was adopted and all the things. So yeah, that's still the journey. Yeah.
Are they all over in Romania, or is there any in Canada?
No, I'm just me in Canada. I'm alone here. I've got an adopted family as well, but they're doing their own thing. And my dad died recently who adopted me. So that's been a thing. But yeah, they're all in Europe, Italy, like scattered a little bit, but mainly in the town called Buzău in Romania. And they live together as a gypsy family. Yeah.
I love that you shared that because we actually adopted my little brother. However, he came from Staten Island. We lived in New York at the time, so he was on the island. So we had contact with this family. He had contact with this family up until we closed the adoption. I mean, he was a baby, so I don't know how much he remembers. But it always warms my heart to hear about adoption stories because it's so close to my family.
It's hard, you know. Your brother probably still feels like he's not like 100% like welcome at the table the same way that anybody who's like blood related feels. It's a thing within adoption kids to feel like, who are we? Yeah. Even if we don't say it. And that acknowledgement of meeting who we're, you know, our other life that we could have lived. We feel like sliding doors life, like, oh my God. So yeah, sharing that.
So beautiful, Jill. I love, you know, family. It's so extensive, but yeah, that blood family, I think, is just incredible I can see the joy in your eyes.
Oh, I know. I love them so much. Yeah.
Okay, well, I elaborate on that. I thought I had thought about what I want to say, but being in my friend's house, Jennifer D'Elia, who is an amazing director, and who did this amazing film, Mary Pickford, Why Not Choose Love, made me think about like what does achievement means, and is it about me? So I think for me, I would say my biggest achievement in realizing it's not about myself, because I come from Food Lines and I come from a place where it's all about survival mode, and it's like, okay, like what can I do to get out of here? You're blocked in so many ways, and people tell you you can't do that. And I can relate to all of your stories of being a super woman, and like, who are you to tell me I can't do that, and like going for it and doing it without no connections and getting to like level that you need to get to, blasting all those doors. And maybe 2 years ago, I felt like, okay, well, I have another thing on my resume, and like, I work, and like whatever in the eyes of people around me, it looks so incredible. And I just remember finding myself in Cannes Film Festival. I dreamed about it for so long, and I worked so hard to get there. And I was standing on this red carpet and all this dress and makeup and all these people taking pictures. And I'm like, I don't feel like this is an achievement, because it's about me, and like, there's more to it. You know what I mean? It's not about achieving something in material sense. It's about giving something to somebody else and like spreading the love in the sense. And I think in some ways my kids gave it to me, because they're a huge achievement, even though I don't attach to like, okay, like, I can live vicariously through my kids and things like that. They're their own people, but they definitely teach me a lot, because my doctor said I could never have kids. So I was like, damn you, I'm going to have two. And if I want more, I'm going to have more. And that was just kind of like magically actually happened. But I think for me, achievement is just being an example of spreading love in so many ways. And especially now in the world we live in, I think it's an achievement just to be kind to another person. So yeah, that's me. Okay.
But I mean, you do so much good, and you do a lot of charity work and stuff, and you put on events, and you just have the biggest heart. You really do, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all, guys. I just love this group. I feel like you're all very sensitive and went through so much. On the lighter and more entertainment note, what is your thought about A-list celebrities doing fashion runway shows? There was a Balenciaga show where like Kim Kardashian, Nicole Kidman, and Dua Lipa were strolling the runway, and they kind of overtaken the fashion world by storm, definitely like doing skills that maybe are they qualified to do or not? Like, models are not just cast in movies to act, does that work? Like, what is your thought on that current culture and what's happening in the fashion industry and entertainment?
That show, oh my God. So you've got like Naomi Campbell, who is a goddess on the runway, and she kind of, she's got such a theatrical walk that she's mesmerizing. And you see her walk, and there's just so much drama to the walk, you know what I mean? And, Bella Hadid, she's a great model, but she didn't kind of have the same qualities as Naomi Campbell, because Naomi Campbell you have to watch. And then what I hated about that show is the three celebrities. For me, it didn't work at all. So we have Kim Kardashian, and she's a beautiful, beautiful lady. She's got a lovely figure, but she's not a clothes horse. She's not a coat hanger, you know what I mean? And runway shows are there to sell kind of the fantasy of wardrobe, you know what I mean? And when she walked, she was so stiff, and she was like clenching her butt like she was about to poop herself. And she was kind of like some dazed zombie. And it's not easy to get out there, and it's not easy to get on the runway. I mean, I've done it, Eugenia, you've done it, it's kind of like being in live theatre. So, you know, hats off to her for doing it, because it's not her comfort zone, but you could tell that. And then Dua Lipa, again, beautiful woman, but she's not a coat hanger. And to me, just the posture of the shoulders, I just thought, you're not doing that gown justice. And then moving on to Nicole Kidman, again, beautiful lady, figure-wise, she is kind of very tall, she's very slender, she is, out of the three women, she's the most like a runway model. But she looked like petrified, she looked so scared, sort of thing. And, you know, she kind of walked wrong and she was like very wobbly. And I just thought, no. I thought, you know, leave the runway to the models, because, you know, we all learn to walk. There is an art to the walking, and it kind of sells the whole image of the garment, you know what I mean? And for me, it just didn't work. Like, I love celebrities, and I think celebrity culture and fashion shows, I want to see the celebrities in the front row, you know what I mean? I don't necessarily want to see them on the runway, because to me, it's just the drama, the theatre, just, it wasn't there with those celebrities, you know what I mean? And when you compare Dua Lipa and Kim Kardashian and Nicole Kidman to the theatre that Naomi Campbell bought, there's just, it was like 1 out of 10, 10 out of 10, you know what I mean? And for me, I want to see a show that is theatre, that you want to watch. You want to see these amazing clothes. And afterwards, you talk about the clothes, you don't talk about the celebrity. And I think with that show, you were left talking about the celebrity. And I know Kim got a lot of backlash on Twitter and stuff for how she was walking. And I just thought it took away from the beautiful garments. So that's my 2 cents worth. Leave the runway to the models.
I will agree to that, Han. I've got something to say, but I'm not going to say any names about who did what or what was going on with that. The fashion industry, for somebody from Canada, right? Like, we do not even have close to what you guys have as a business for fashion, celebrities, makeup, the whole thing that's put together for the show and the events. And then after the photos come out, that's very, it's less in Canada, unfortunately, especially where I am. And with my magazine, I try to implement that, putting celebrity and fashion together and doing more within the film community and people getting interested in that. But you know what I notice as a Canadian is that they work so hard to build up the models, right? That they are, like you said, that look for leave the models to the model job and the artist. And I agree with that, because I felt like with that show, when I was watching it, it felt like they had just come up with the idea, let's get some celebrities in there. And I thought, you know, they should have separated the celebrities coming in, and they should have let the celebrities walk normal, like they would on the red carpet. It would have been more exciting and less like they said, targeting the artist for not doing a good job at a job that they don't even do. Like, you can't even make fun of somebody for doing a bad job and they've been thrown into it, right? So I love all the people that had to go through that, and they probably had so much fun. They probably didn't even realize when they got chosen to do it, to walk, that would happen to them. But that always happens in art. It's such a horrible thing when you take somebody that's never done it and put them up in front of everyone, who it's like a mess for a disaster waiting to happen. And I feel like they could have done the same concept, but letting the people who are not real models and using them to get attention. I can see why they did that. But I just felt like, oh, they should have separated it, where the artists came out like after and they could address normal. Because like trying to normalize where the models, you know, are behind the scene of the celebrity is wrong, because they're coming in on their territory. So of course you're going to have this like backlash of the way it looks, because it's not the structure of a proper fashion show. But I thought it was amazing. I thought everyone actually looked great, but a lot of them looked very scared and stuff. Unfortunately, girls, I love all of you. Like, seriously, if I had to do that, it would be terrible. But there's a business to that. And they have been trading celebrity to do fashion and cutting out the models for a long time. And I see that they're doing that more and more and more with products for film, for TV, for any kind of product. And they think that using the celebrity is going to get them those views and something different out of that network. And that's great. I think it's a good idea. But the way it's done should be done as they're being themselves or walking normally. Next time, guys, try that. That's what I think I would do if I was watching that and saw that.
Yeah, I mean, I have so much respect for the celebrities that were involved, because it's just not easy to get up there. It's not easy to be out of your comfort zone. But, you know, we as models, we get taught to walk, and, you know, there is an art to it. And I mean, I know that I've been told a million times over, I fall through one of my hips when I walk. And I'm just like, how am I falling through? But there's things that we have to, you know, work on to actually have it right for the runway. Because it's not naturally born, you know, kind of crossing your legs when you walk. And, you know, there's a hip swing and all that sort of thing. And it's not a normal walk, but it is a very theatrical walk.
And the energy, like you said too, of them being like, Naomi's like, let's go, you know, and they're like, oh. But I think that's apparent, you know, even if they were listening, girls, I love you, they would be like, I know that's what it turned out, but it's not their fault though.
Yeah. Jill, I like how you brought up how a lot of industries are trying to bring in celebrities to do other jobs. That was immediately what I thought of when I saw this question. I'm noticing that a lot in the hosting world. Like, it's a lot harder, and I'm sure you gals have noticed it too, to get jobs when they're looking at Instagram numbers and they're bringing in influencers to do red carpets, or TikTokers are getting movie roles and things like that. And as people who have put in the time and put into work, I can relate to the models, how they must have felt on that level, because they've learned the art, as Kat so wonderfully expressed. Like, she said things I never would have thought would have gone into walking, just like there's things we've learned to do with hosting that they don't know. And it's not a knock on anyone. It's just what you've learned to do, what you've spent time doing. You've put in the work to perfect your craft. And now someone who hasn't put in that work and that time is reaping the rewards, and you want to be happy for them because they're great opportunities. But there's part of you that's like, where, you know, like, it's a little sucky, to put it bluntly. So yeah, definitely leave the modeling to the models. It might have been cute if they had like a celebrity cameo, as like Jill was trying to get at before. Like, I like that idea. Maybe bring them out at the end with a designer or something like that, like have a moment and then walk off, or like in the audience, like highlight that they're there wearing some pieces, wave. Like, it could have been better done. But yeah, like, I just think of Kim Kardashian's zombie walk, and like, to quote her, it was tragic.
Yeah, I find it such an interesting discussion, and thank you so much, everybody, for being so passionate about it. Obviously, coming from modeling experience, I do remember going to modeling school for a long time, and like Russian, like cold, you know, hallway back and forth for like hours studying different walks. So that did happen. Was it good or bad? I don't know, but it definitely took some time. And I think I was coming into modeling like after it was the time of supermodels and Naomi, and they were this like stars and they have this life. And then they sent scouts to like Brazil and Russia, and they brought us just 10, all these teenagers who were, you know, desperate and hungry, and they would work for like nothing basically all the time. And I think it's just very interesting. I very agree with you, Jill. You know, what I don't blame it on anybody. Like, they were trying to do the best that they could do, and they didn't probably know how it's going to come out at the end. But I think if you put a person in their authentic element, that's the way to go. If they would have walked normally and not try to fit into the cliche of the industry that tries to put you in the cliche, because they try to box you. And I honestly don't like that. I think it's so inauthentic. I think people do react to authenticity, no matter who you are, what you do. Like, don't name somebody, just make them be who they are and present it in that way. I feel like that's happening in Hollywood a lot of times. everybody's on this like diversity train, but my friends who are like super talented, who are American and don't have any diversity, they can't get arrested even though they're talented actors. And that's just not fair. I think, don't judge people and put them in a box and try to like create your own, whatever agenda if it's not authentic, because at the end, viewers see it. If it's a TikTok star, don't try to make them an actor, just bring them as a TikTok star, whatever, let them be themselves and put the role for them specifically, because it doesn't make sense at the end. And I think that's what corporations, unfortunately, are not really connected to the heart and authenticity of the process of storytelling. So I think it's an interesting experience, to see what happened actually. And I agree that taken away from the fashion designer, it does take away, and it makes it about gossip and, not about the creation like it was when Yves Saint Laurent was there. Somebody was there, was themselves, and it wasn't about the designer. It's an interesting time. I think everything goes in waves. So I'm sure it will, clear itself through the process of clearing, like everything in fashion. Like Forever 21 is not, at couture, but is it good quality? Is it good workplace? No. And like, should it go? Yes. Or change or authentically be what it is. I think it's a process, but it's interesting to watch. So thank you for elaborating.
Yeah, I kind of think the industries are getting very lost and they're kind of like morphing into each other. I mean, I miss, for example, with the modeling industry, I miss the days where models had real images. You had Erin O'Connor, you had, Kate Moss was gorgeous, you had Naomi Campbell, but, models had gaps between their teeth. They had a unique look. They didn't necessarily have to be beautiful. And it worked. It really, really worked. I mean, when I started in London, I remember going into Storm, and it was when I was looking for an agent, and the guy's like, how tall are you? I was like, I'm 5'8". And he peers over the top of me, he's like 5'7" at best, sort of thing. And it was like really snobby, because all the girls, they're all like 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. Anyway, so the agent that took me on, they gave me an image and they shaved off my hair. So I had like all like the sides and the back were shaved off. They dyed it black. My hair used to be blonde, and they gave me a mohawk. And it was like the ugliest look you've ever seen in your life, but it worked. And my first job was with Rankin, and it was, because I was on the short side for a model, they had to give me this image for me to actually succeed within the industry. And I missed that because there was so much uniqueness. And now it's like you say, you've got the celebrities getting involved. And I just feel like the art of modeling, the art of fashion is getting very lost. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting time for sure. I think I see where they can try to be diverse. And I think like body shaming, like thank God it's, like models, whatever is a model, I love that it's expanding, because I remember starving to get into the dress that wasn't healthy at all. So I love that. But I think if it just comes in more organic way, and rather than trying to create a concept that is not real,
I do like
I wonder.
Size now. I think that's so important.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys. Well, our third topic is traveling. It's, I don't know, as a parent, I travel in summer, but maybe you travel all the time. So I'm curious to know about that. And your feeling about current traveling. Do you have any stories? Like it changed so much. I feel especially this summer I have amazing and crazy stories, like people losing their luggage and then, whatever. What is your idea of traveling now? Like, how did it change? Like, what is your thought on current situation anywhere in the world?
The current situation is awful. And the reason why there's all the baggage being lost and stuff like that is when the pandemic hit and we had lockdowns and flights were cancelled, the airlines, they got rid of staff and they treated their staff really badly. I know that my brother, he's a pilot with an English airline. I won't say the name, but he had to take a massive pay cut so they could keep some of the other pilots on board. And, you know, meanwhile, all the ground staff at like Heathrow, they're being laid off left, right, and centre, and they got treated so badly by, you know, all the big airlines. So Virgin, Emirates, British Airways, you know, they laid off all the cabin staff. And I know now my brother again has been asked to take another massive pay cut. And yet he's working his ass off. He's doing a lot of overtime. He's owed a lot of money for his overtime. Meanwhile, you've got the big corporate bosses at this English airline, and they've just given themselves a 19 million bonus. But yet they've, you know, cut the money to the staff. And, you know, Heathrow, for example, they've actually had the pilots pulling baggage off the aircraft because there's not the staff, and they're cancelling all these flights because they just don't have the staff to run the airport, to run the flights and everything else, to handle all the baggage. And, you know, there's thousands and thousands of flights being cancelled every single week. And basically it's because when the pandemic hit, the big corporate companies and all the big airlines and all the little airlines too, they basically laid off all the staff and gave them the big middle finger. And people have found, you know, work elsewhere, or they've gone back to their home countries and stuff. And now they can't get the staff back because the staff that they did have, they're asking to work for a much lower wage than they originally had, you know. And it's just, people just know, they just don't want to know. And I mean, all this holiday chaos, it comes from the big corporate companies and what they did to their staff and how badly they treated them. So as to flying right now, no thank you. You got to fly with your clothes on your back and that's about it. But I mean, it's a star T show. That's what I'm going to say.
It feels like even before the pandemic, airlines started getting greedier and greedier. I always have to check a bag. Like, I'm a high maintenance girl. I've got my makeup, I've got liquids. Like, we got to check that baby. And it used to cost like, I think $25 if you wanted to check a bag. And then they upped it to $30. And now I'm just wondering, knock on wood, when is the next time they're going to increase it? I mean, thank God I do travel a lot. I'm gold, so my fee is waived for the rest of the year. But little things, they used to give you meals on a plane. Remember that way back when? And now you're lucky if you get a bag of pretzels. If you're not lucky enough to fly first class, like most of us, now since the pandemic, we can't have alcohol on a flight, which, like, for me is miserable. When I go across the country 6 hours to see my family, I want some vino, you know, but they cut that away from us. So it just seems like they're taking more and more away. Unfortunately, from what Kat said, they're treating their staff like garbage. So of course, when you get on the plane, they're probably not happy to be there. And the whole quality of everything is going down. As I mentioned earlier, I am someone who does travel a lot. I'm flying in a few weeks to see my family in Jersey. So I'm just hopefully preparing for the best trip that I possibly can have, you know, controlling what I can do on my end. I always try to be friendly to the gate engines, the gate agents rather, the flight crew, TSA, because I know it's early. They probably don't want to be there with the way everyone's treating them. So I just try and be kind and pay it forward as much as I can.
I'm going to say we very much appreciated. It's like the little things in life do make a big difference. I know, like, trying to think of his name, like Willie Walsh. I'm sure Willie Walsh used to be the head of this English airline, but he was on one of my brother's flights my brother's a captain, and it was a really bad weather and, you know, lots of turbulence and stuff, and it was horrific going into Heathrow. And Willie waited on the plane afterwards and he asked to see the pilots, and he just said, thank you very much for flying so well and getting us home safely. And I thought that was lovely, super, super lovely, just to feel appreciated because you've done your job and you've done it really, really bloody well in the most horrific weather conditions, you know what I mean? And I just think pleases and thank yous and appreciating the staff, it does go a long way.
So true, Kat. You know, like, thanks for sharing the insight, because a lot of times not knowing what people on the inside job going through, I think it's really easy to lose compassion, and it's true. And Diana, on the wine side, I'm like you know, I'm Russian, I have to have my wine. And I remember in pandemic, we actually almost got grounded. So I have the story, right? I was flying and I sometimes would sneak my wine into like Starbucks, you know, saying like, you know, watch me, I'll be more smart than you. So I got along well. And one time I even snagged like a bottle of wine in a tennis racket. I don't know how. But then I remember, I was like, whoa, maybe just they missed it, you know, but they were very strict. So I had a lot of fights with lots of flight attendants trying to like out cheat them. And they're like, coffee is not red, you know, like we'll just tell you. But I remember there was a mom next to me on one flight, and she had this like small cute bottles and her baby was crying all the time. And she's like, you know, trying to just get a little sip to like relieve her anxiety. And the stewardess is like, no, there's no alcohol on the flight. And the mom was like, please, my baby, like, let me just chug it and you can throw it out. And the stewardess almost called and said, we have to like, you know, we have to stop the flight and we have to land if you don't give it to me. So they were pretty strict. It's pretty gnarly for sure.
Yeah. Apparently it has to do, it's like federal regulation that you can't bring your own, like you could bring it if you're flying with it, but you can't drink it on the flight, which is just like wild to me. Like I understand, but also at the same time, it's like, it's just some wine.
Jill, what do you think?
Well, for me, I don't drink, you know.
It's about traveling.
Even crazier than I am now. I'm very allergic to it, but I can feel like, oh man, other vices and stuff, like people smoking cigarettes and other things. I could see like, oh, if you don't have what you need, it could drive you nuts. But I mean, I'm thinking from this conversation, I feel like, you know, maybe when I go to Romania in like the next month or two, maybe I should just bring a carry-on. I've got clothes there. I feel like, wow, it is a huge issue, the baggage and traveling, and everything's a lot more expensive. And being in Canada, right? It's like we have a bit different regulations than you guys. It's been hard to even decide to travel because you feel like, you know, the war that's going on in Ukraine and all the things that you feel stopped from wanting to go. And it kind of brings a sadness. You're just like trapped within your own city or your own country. That's been hard for a lot of people, I think, but I'll try to think of some ways, ladies, that we could smuggle in the, you know, the alcohol for you. I'll let you know. Come up with that.
Yeah, as to your carry-on, if you vacuum pack your clothes, you'll get a lot more in there. Top tip from my mum yesterday. Sorry, she's packing for my nephew to go to Spain. She's like, I'm going to vacuum pack everything because he's bought the stupidest, smallest case. I was like, calm down, mother, calm down. But yeah,
that's so true. You know, it's so funny, the vacuum thing. I didn't even think about it. We're going on a trip in 2 days, and like I'm dreading with my kids, I'm dreading losing the luggage because my therapist was flying to Germany and she lost the luggage and never found it. So I'm like, okay, don't put anything important there. But I do feel like, have you guys seen the movie Idiocracy by Mike Judge? I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an amazing film about like apocalypse. It's a comedy made in the 80s, but please watch it because it's just an incredible story of how society goes to basically like idiocracy. And I think it is because there's so many computers in airports and nobody helps you and nobody literally knows what to do. And it's like, you know, I mean, they just create so many obstacles. Obviously, as somebody who comes from nothing, I like figure out the ways to navigate all kind of systems and airports, but it's not easy. It's like a survival method of like Hunger Games is gonna get on that flight, you know? And sometimes they offer you like thousands of dollars. So my friend was deciding not to come back from Vegas and she just stayed on like $2,000 an extra day. So there's that, but traveling has definitely changed tremendously. And I think maybe it's time to take a road trip instead of flying.
You want to talk like idiots in flying. There was one time, this was before the pandemic. I was going from New Jersey to Pittsburgh, which ideally should have been a 40-minute flight. lightning struck the plane that came in. So that flight was canceled. And so when I went over to, like, I was with my friend, and when I went over to the desk to try and change our flight, I said, if you can't get us on something sooner, then it would be easier to like drive the 6 hours to Pittsburgh. We'd rather take the money and rent a car. But before I could finish my sentence, the gate agent was like so rude, cut me off. And she was like, we have you on a 4 p.m. And if you can't, like, you can stand by for 4. Then there was one right after. And then if not, you'll be on like this 11 o'clock at night. Well, long story short, we didn't make the standby for the 4. And the other flight we were getting on right after was all the way across the airport, which I don't know if any of you guys have been to Newark Airport, but it's a large airport, right? So we're running and we get to the other gate and they slam the door in our face and we're like, sorry, you're too late. I break down because we're missing my friend's rehearsal dinner at that point. And then like this lovely angel flight attendant comes over, like sees me sobbing, gives us $25 in meal vouchers, which we spent on alcohol, of course. And we got into Pittsburgh at 1 a.m. So what should have been a 50-minute flight turned into like a 12+ hour debacle.
Wow,
That's crazy.
An adventure.
Yeah.
Like her.
But
You know, I
what?
was in Toronto just recently, and I experienced the exact same thing at the Toronto Pearson Airport. I'm so like, I don't know, the way I am, it's like, who knows how I'm gonna get figure it out. I'm European too, but I don't think I have the skills like you do, babe. And so I get there, and then my ticket is not, I'm at the lady saying, okay, here, I'm here to get on the flight or whatever, and she goes, well, this isn't your flight. But it took so long for them to realize that this is not the right flight because I had bought it online. And so they had no idea how to help me. And then this lady had to really go in and figure out, this is not our airline. And I said, well, what airline is it? I don't know. You don't know? Oh, I was almost in tears too, figuring out how I'm going to get back home and all the things. And it was across the platform. I'm just like running with my bags, yelling at everyone, is this where I go? Is this there? And just, oh, it was like a movie, you guys, and just trying to get there. Oh. So it's stressful. Like you said, the all the flight attendants and people, they don't know what's going on with the other airlines. They don't even have to bother looking it up for you if they don't want to. It's like they're in their own community in the airport. I noticed that too.
It's so funny. Yeah, I have a story from like my friend who was flying to DC recently, and we fly a lot. She's a journalist together, and she was so happy the client bought her first class, and you know, finally we didn't have to like struggle to get onto all this like, you know, comedy shows, third class or whatever. She was there, and suddenly she sees a lady in front of her, and the lady has a fake baby who is like a real baby, and she like talks to the baby through the whole flight. And now, because of the cancel culture, apparently the stewardess had to talk to the baby and pretend like it was a real baby because it was like not allowed. So my friend talked to the stewardess. She's like, you know, trying to comfort her. And the stewardess was like, you're number 1 passenger, because apparently on the flights, they choose one passenger who is like number 1, and everybody's supposed to be nice to that passenger. So you guys, just be nice to anybody who serves you, because they definitely had that system going on. But also the fake baby, I thought it was just so strange and interesting.
That is really, really random. It really is. But back to the delays and when stuff doesn't go well. I mean, I was leaving Toronto and I was stopping in New York, and then I was going to London. Anyway, so leaving Toronto, there's horrific weather. So we're like grounded for 6-7 hours. So I missed my connecting flight. Obviously, I'd bought the flight separately, like a stupid person does, no travel insurance. And basically, I spent 24 hours asleep on the floor of like some New York airport because no one wanted to help me out. And eventually, like the airline that I was meant to fly on, they took pity on me, and there was a cancellation, and they put me on a flight like the next day. But I was just like stuck in an airport because of bad weather had stopped me like flying. So it knock-on effects the whole of my travel plans. It was crazy. But it was nice being homeless in an airport for a night. You're just like sleeping on your bag or trying to like, yeah, it's an experience.
Thank you, guys. I feel like we can definitely write so many scenarios for a comedy about airports. It all sounds like a big adventure.
I have a fashion designer friend, and she recently flew from London to Bulgaria because she was doing a cooking show. Of all the things, she was a guest on a cooking show. Anyway, she's allowed her one piece of hand luggage. She went on the aircraft wearing 5 dresses because she was like, you know, she had needed costume changes, and it was actually better to wear the dresses than try and roll them and put them in basically this, you know, the carry-on, because, you know, the designer dresses, she also does the most amazing turbans and stuff. So she's there on the plane, like turban on top of turban, and like 5 beautiful, very colorful dresses just to get her wardrobe through, because obviously she flew, I'm going to say like a month ago. So there was the whole baggage thing going on, and she just had her one little bag for like the 3-4 days she was in Bulgaria, and then the whole wardrobe she just wore on the flight. I think that's amazing. I think that's brilliant. It's like, think outside the box, people.
So funny. Okay, well, thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you everyone for watching, and hope to see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, my brilliant co-hosts.